When it comes to the parabola, the three things we're going to look for is going to be the vertex, the focus, and the directrix. The vertex come from the same places as the center did on the circle and the ellipse, and that's from the x and the y. Now, when it comes to that x, I'm not talking about the 4 that's in front of it. I'm talking about any term that's added to it. So, since there's nothing added to the x, our x coordinate is going to be 0. And since the y is y minus 1, that means the y coordinate will be positive 1. So I'm going to quickly come over and plot 0, 1. That's where my vertex is going to be. Now for the focus, that's when we're going to use this 4 that's out in front, because that coefficient is the value of 4c. So 4c is equal to 4, making c equal to 1. Why that's important is that c is the distance from the center to the focus. So that means we're going to go 1 unit. And since that 4 is right next to the x, we're going to go 1 unit in the x direction. So going back to the vertex, I'm going to take 1 step to the right, and that's where my focus will be. The directrix is going to be just as far on the other side, so we'll go back 1. But remember that the directrix is not a point, it's a line. Once we have the directrix, the vertex, and the focus, we can see that the parabola is going to bend away from the directrix, keeping the focus inside of the curve. Now we can go back and label our focus and directrix. Remember that the focus was 1 step to the right of the vertex, meaning we add 1 to the x coordinate, keeping the y coordinate the same. So if that one's at 1, this one is at 0, this one was at -1. That's a vertical line, meaning it crosses the x-axis, so x is equal to -1. So when 8 times x plus 1 is equal to y squared, our vertex, again, is going to come from what's being added to the x and the y. So since it's x plus 1, our x coordinate is -1, and nothing's added to y, so y is 0. That means our vertex is at -1, 0. In order to find the focus and the directrix, we need to determine what c is, and that 8 that is out in front, that's the value of 4c, making c equal to 2. C is the distance from the vertex to the focus. And since that 8 is attached to the x, we're going to go 2 units in the x direction. So 1, 2. That's where the focus is. The directrix is going to be just as far on the other side. So going back to the vertex, I'm going to take 2 steps to the left. 1, 2. And that's where the directrix is, at -3. So now we have enough for our graph. It's going to curve away from the directrix, keeping the focus inside the curve. And we label the focus where it's at as this point, 1, 0. And the directrix as this line, x equals -3. One more time. This time we'll have -12 times y minus 2 is equal to the x minus 3 being squared. So the vertex comes from the x and the y. Notice that the x and the y are switched around. So the x coordinate, since it says x minus 3, is going to be positive 3. And the y coordinate, since it says y minus 2, is going to be positive 2. So 1, 2, 3, and up 2. That is where the vertex is going to be. Before we can find the focus and the directrix, we have to find c. I know that 4c is going to be -12. This is the first time that it's been negative in this example, but we divide by 4 in the same way, and now we'll get -3. That means the distance from our vertex to the focus is -3. And since that 12 was attached to the y, we're going to go -3 in the y direction. So starting at the vertex, I'm going to go down 3 units. 1, 2, 3. That's where the focus will be. The directrix will be 3 units in the other direction, so we'll go up 1, 2, 3, and that's where the directrix will be. We have enough for the graph by just sketching any old parabola, keeping the focus inside the curve, and we go back and label the focus and the directrix. The focus was down 3 units from the vertex, meaning that the x-coordinate would be the same as the vertex, but the y-coordinate would be -1. The directrix is a line, this horizontal line that is crossing the y-axis. So it's going to be y equals. And we went up 3 units from the vertex, so starting at 2 and adding 3 will give us 5.